The year my family missed my graduation to fly to Paris using my grandfather's money was also the year I realized something terrifying. Some people will let you carry them for so long that they stop seeing you as a person. You become infrastructure, electricity, water, a bill that gets paid quietly in the background, and the second you stop working, they panic like the lights went out. I'm Vanessa Mercer. I was 38 when I graduated from nursing school, which sounds late until you spend half your adult life cleaning up after other people's disasters. By the time I walked across that stage, I had already raised one sibling, buried one parent, paid off debts that weren't mine, and spent 12 years working night shifts as an ER tech while taking classes one at a time at the community college in Ashbury Falls, Missouri. Ashbury Falls is the kind of town where everyone knows your truck by sound alone. One grocery store, one diner, one stoplight that blinks yellow after midnight. People here remember your mistakes longer than your birthdays. My younger brother, Tyler, was the opposite of me in every way. Tyler was charming in the way stray dogs are charming right before they bite somebody. At 33, he still lived in our mother's converted basement surrounded by unopened Amazon packages and business plans he never followed through on: crypto, sports cards, podcasting. A mobile detailing company that lasted 8 days, but my mother talked about him like he was one lucky break away from Forbes magazine. Tyler's got vision, she'd say while I handed her grocery money. The funny thing about vision is it's easier to have when someone else pays the electric bill. That someone was usually me. I worked 3 12-hour shifts every weekend at St. Agnes Regional ER, Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, trauma, overdoses, car wrecks, drunks, chest pains, meth psychosis, all of it. Then during the week I attended nursing classes and clinicals. I slept in fragments, 90 minutes here, 2 hours there. Sometimes I'd wake up in my car with my textbook open on my chest and no memory of parking, but every month, without fail, my mother would call. Vanessa, honey, Tyler's phone got shut off again. Vanessa, the mortgage is behind. Vanessa, can you spot us until next Friday? Next Friday never came. 3 years before graduation, my grandfather moved into assisted living after a minor stroke. Arthur Mercer, former railroad mechanic, Korean War veteran. A man who folded his shirts with military corners and sharpened pencils with a pocket knife instead of a sharpener because he said machines made people lazy. He was also the only person in my family who ever asked how tired I was, not how school was going, not whether I'd passed another exam. Just you sleeping enough, Ness, like exhaustion itself mattered. Every Wednesday after class, I'd stop by Maple Ridge Assisted Living to check on him. I'd refill his crossword books, trim his nails, sneak him decent coffee because the facility coffee tasted like hot dirt. One afternoon, about 2 months before graduation, he asked me something strange. You still helping your mother financially? I laughed once, not because it was funny, because it was embarrassing. A little, his eyes narrowed. A little means yes. I changed the subject. That should have been my warning sign. A week later, my mother called while I was studying pharmacology in the library. Don't forget Thanksgiving is at our house this year, she said. I work that morning. You can still help cook afterward. Not can you come, not we'd love to see you. Help cook, like I was part daughter, part catering staff. Thanksgiving landed 4 days before my graduation ceremony. I should explain something about my family before I tell you what happened that day. My mother didn't praise people for being dependable. She punished them for it. If you were responsible, she leaned harder. If you survived difficult things quietly, she handed you heavier things to carry. Meanwhile, Tyler got celebrated for basic survival. Tyler wakes up before noon. See, he's trying. Tyler pays 1 utility bill. So proud of him, Tyler buys our mother flowers using money borrowed from me. He's just thoughtful like that. I spent 15 years mistaking usefulness for love. That Thanksgiving morning, freezing rain glazed the road silver. I got off a 12-hour shift at 7 a.m. after helping stabilize a teenager thrown through a windshield on Route 9. Blood under my fingernails, coffee breath, lower back screaming, I drove straight to my mother's house because she'd texted 3 times, turkey emergency, need help ASAP. When I walked inside, Tyler was sitting at the kitchen island drinking expensive bourbon. At 10 in the morning, football already on TV, feet up, laughing. Mom looked relieved when she saw me. Oh good, you're here. No hello, just relief that the workhorse arrived. The kitchen looked like a disaster zone. Half-peeled potatoes, overflowing sink, turkey still partially frozen. You haven't started, I asked. We were waiting for you, we meaning me. Tyler raised his glass, Nurse Nancy to the rescue. Everyone laughed. I smiled because sometimes smiling is easier than admitting something hurts, so I cooked. For 6 straight hours, I basted the turkey, mashed potatoes. Washed dishes as I used them because my mother hates clutter but never cleans while cooking. Meanwhile, Tyler held court in the living room telling everyone about a huge investment opportunity involving short-term vacation properties. My Aunt Marlene kept saying, "That boy's gonna make it big someday." At one point, my mother actually called me into the dining room carrying a tray of rolls while Tyler explained cryptocurrency to Uncle Dean like he was Warren Buffett. "Vanessa, honey, can you refill everyone's drinks?" I stood there holding hot bread while my younger brother, unemployed for nearly 2 years, explained financial freedom wearing sweatpants with bleach stains. And then came the moment I still think about sometimes at 3 in the morning. Dinner had just started. My graduation ceremony was the following Tuesday. I'd spent 4 years clawing my way toward that degree. 4 years, I waited through half the meal for someone to mention it. Anyone. Finally, Aunt Marlene said, "So Tyler, what's next for you?" Tyler launched into another speech about business ventures. 10 more minutes passed. Then my mother lifted her wine glass and smiled at him. "I just know this is gonna be your year." Everyone toasted. To Tyler, not one person mentioned my graduation, not one. I remember standing up quietly and collecting empty plates while they talked over me. Nobody noticed I'd stopped eating. That's the humiliation people don't talk about enough, not screaming. Not cruelty, absence. The feeling that you could disappear from the room and nobody would pause the conversation. Later that night, while I was scraping dried stuffing into the trash, I overheard my mother in the hallway. "She's strong," she whispered about me. "She doesn't really need people the way Tyler does." Something inside me went still after that, not angry, just still, like a lake freezing overnight. Graduation day arrived cold and bright. The community college auditorium smelled like cheap flowers and pressed fabric. I wore navy blue scrubs beneath my gown because I had a shift starting at 7 p.m. Most graduates had huge cheering sections, balloons, custom shirts, families taking photos. I had Grandpa Arthur, front row, gray suit, railroad tie pin, hands folded over his cane. That was it. My mother texted an hour before the ceremony, "Can't make it, sweetheart. Tyler surprised us with a Paris trip, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Paris. I stared at the text until the words blurred. Then another message appeared. "Can you check on Grandpa this weekend? We leave tonight." I actually laughed, a sharp little sound that startled the woman sitting beside me. They missed my graduation for Paris, using my grandfather's money, though I didn't know that part yet. All I knew was they'd left town without even pretending to care. When they called my name, I walked across that stage feeling strangely calm, not devastated, not furious, just finished, like a bridge collapsing after years of wait. After the ceremony, Grandpa took me to the diner off Highway 17. Rubies, red vinyl booths, burnt coffee. The same waitress had worked there since I was 12. Grandpa slid a small wrapped box across the table. Inside was his old railroad pocket watch. "Silver, scratched, heavy in my palm. Wanted you to have something reliable," he said. I nearly cried right there beside the ketchup bottle. Then his expression changed. "Ness, I need you to look at something." He pulled an envelope from his jacket, bank statements. "I think your mother's taking money," he said quietly. The diner noise seemed to fade all at once. "What?" "She says she's managing my bills, but things don't add up anymore." I opened the envelope. At first the numbers didn't register, then they did. Thousands transferred out monthly. Luxury hotel charges, airline purchases, designer stores. And there, highlighted in yellow by my grandfather's shaky hand, Air France, 4 tickets. My stomach dropped. "How long has this been happening?" He stared down at his coffee. I didn't want to believe it. I drove him back to Maple Ridge in silence. That night, while my family drank wine beneath the Eiffel Tower, I sat at my tiny apartment table surrounded by bank statements. I noticed patterns, transfers timed around Tyler's failed ventures. Cash withdrawals before vacations, late fees on Grandpa's medication account. The deeper I looked, the sicker I felt. My grandfather skipped physical therapy twice because he thought he couldn't afford extra appointments. Meanwhile, my mother posted Paris selfies in a silk scarf. The caption said, "Family is everything." Read. I think that's the moment I emotionally left my family. Not dramatically, quietly, like stepping out of a room while everyone else is still talking. Over the next week, I helped Grandpa meet with an attorney named Celia Watkins in neighboring Brookfield. Celia wore sensible shoes and spoke in calm, devastating sentences. Your grandfather is fully competent, she said. He can revoke financial authority immediately. So he did. New accounts, new cards, fraud investigation, updated will. My name wasn't added to anything except medical authorization. That mattered to me. I didn't want his money. I wanted him protected. When my mother returned from Paris, she found every account frozen. She called me 17 times in one afternoon. I answered on the 18th. What did you do? She hissed. In the background, I could hear Tyler yelling. I helped Grandpa review his finances. You had no right. He skipped physical therapy because he thought he was broke. Silence. Then you don't understand the pressure I've been under. There it was, not apology, explanation. People like my mother always confuse those two things. We were going to pay it back, she said finally. I pictured Tyler drinking bourbon while I scrubbed Thanksgiving pans. You missed my graduation, I said quietly. That's what this is about. Jesus, Vanessa, you're almost 40. No, it wasn't about graduation. It was about finally realizing I could die tomorrow and they would still call asking for grocery money. A month later came the final breaking point, Christmas Eve. I almost didn't go, but Grandpa asked me to. The house looked exactly the same, warm lights, fake cinnamon candles. Tyler sprawled on the couch. Only this time the atmosphere felt brittle. My mother kept trying to act normal, too loud, too cheerful. Halfway through dinner, Tyler finally snapped. You turned Grandpa against us. I set down my fork. No, your bank statements did. You think you're better than everyone because you wear scrubs. No, I said. I think I'm tired. That shut the room up, not because I raised my voice, because it was honest. I looked around that table and realized something horrifying. Nobody there actually knew me. Not my favorite color, not what foods I hated, not that I hadn't slept through the night in 8 months. Not that I kept emergency clothes in my trunk because I practically lived between school and the hospital. I was support staff in my own family, useful, replaceable, invisible. My mother started crying softly. After everything I sacrificed, I stood up before she could finish. I know, I said. You've been telling me my whole life. Then I hugged Grandpa goodbye and left. No screaming, no dramatic exit, just the sound of the front door closing behind me. 3 weeks later, I accepted an ER position in Duluth, Minnesota, 900 miles away. I told nobody except Grandpa, not because I wanted revenge. Because I wanted peace before someone convinced me I didn't deserve it. The move happened quietly. I sold half my furniture, packed my books into plastic bins, ended my lease. On my last night in Missouri, I sat on the hood of my car outside my apartment complex listening to freight trains in the distance. I thought I'd feel guilty. Instead, I felt something stranger. Light. Like setting down bags you forgot you were carrying, I left before sunrise. No goodbye dinner, no family gathering, just highway fog and a silver pocket watch on the passenger seat. For the first few months after I moved, my mother called constantly, then less, then only when bills piled up. I stopped answering, not angrily, just consistently. People eventually learn whether your boundaries are temporary or permanent. Tyler sent one message 6 months later. Mom says you abandoned the family. I stared at it for a long time before replying. No, I stopped abandoning myself. That was 2 years ago. Grandpa passed away last winter, peacefully, warm blanket over his legs, baseball game playing softly beside his bed. I made it in time to hold his hand. Before he died, he squeezed my fingers and whispered, "You look rested." Nobody had ever given me a better compliment. Sometimes I still think about Thanksgiving. About carrying trays while everyone toasted Tyler's imaginary future. But I don't replay it with anger anymore, just clarity. Families don't always break apart in explosions. Sometimes they erode slowly, one small dismissal at a time, one forgotten milestone, one unpaid debt, one ignored exhaustion. Until eventually the person holding everything together quietly steps away, and the whole structure finally has to feel its own weight.